Coming up this hour, we'll talk with Houston Council Member Mario Castillo of District H, who joins us to discuss making city council meetings more accessible to the public. I'm Celestia Sherman.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also talk with Ricardo Magdaleno, Director of the Mayor's Office of Special Events, who will give us a behind-the-scenes look at this year's Freedom Over Texas festivities.
Plus, have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a popular meme? Well, we'll also speak with a Houston local who will share his experience.
And as Celeste and I discuss the top stories of the day, we want your thoughts, questions, and concerns. Give us a call or text us, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
All this and more right here on Hello Houston, right after the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Republican-led Senate is voting on President Trump's massive tax and spending package. NPR's Claudia Grisales reports that after hours of new internal party negotiations, Republican leaders are hoping they've pulled together enough support to pass a legislation that Trump and his supporters call the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Senators have taken up dozens of amendments from both parties, with Republicans hoping new tweaks to the massive spending plan will win them enough support within their party. Democrats, however, have put up a series of amendments to delay the process and attempt to gut the bill. Senators have struck one major provision from the legislation to block states from regulating artificial intelligence. However, while the bill retains its biggest measure to extend a tax cut program passed under President Trump's first term, the plan to pay for it remains in flux. Claudia Grisales, NPR News.
The bill includes funding to boost border security, but this hour, President Trump is celebrating another kind of border security. A remote area of the Florida Everglades with its alligators and other predators surrounding a new immigration facility to detain migrants.
We're doing the worst of the worst, always first. Yes. And I think it's great government, what we've done.
President Trump briefly talking to reporters this morning after he landed in choppy Florida. The facility, nicknamed Alligator Alcatraz, sparked an outcry from immigrant rights advocates and those worried about the construction's environmental impact. Today is the last official day for the United States Agency for International Development. The 63-year-old agency was the first federal institution to be dismantled by the Trump administration earlier this year. More from NPR's Fatma Tanis.
Only several hundred people were working at the agency in its final days. There had been over 13,000 at the beginning of the year. The U.S. was the largest donor of global health, and much of that was through USAID, which supported programs tackling diseases such as malaria, HIV/AIDS, as well as emergency humanitarian efforts. The agency was set up during John F. Kennedy's administration to advance U.S. goals through so-called soft power. But earlier this year, the Trump administration terminated more than 80% of the agency's programs, accusing it of wasting and misspending the taxpayers' money. A sliver of USAID programs will continue. The State Department will take on managing those starting today. Fatma Tanis, NPR News.
This hour, U.S. stocks are mixed, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average up 428 points, or nearly 1%, at 44,522. The S&P's down 12. The Nasdaq is down nearly 200 points, or down nearly 1%. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. The highest court in the land has ruled on a case related to Texas. Rocky Rhodes is a law professor at South Texas College of Law. He spoke with Houston Matters on Monday about the court siding with Texas over access to adult content online.
That this law is constitutional. Texas and about the 21 other states that have similar laws can continue to enforce them, which is going to require sites that cater to adult content to create some kind of age verification scheme.
Among other cases decided by the High Court involving Texas, the High Court has ruled against ExxonMobil over violations of pollution codes at their Baytown refinery. A Kinder Houston area survey takes a deep dive into what draws people to Houston and what's pushing them away. News 88.7's Gabrielle Dawkins explores the findings.
It is jobs, It is family, and it is the cost of living.
Daniel Potter, director of the Houston Population Research Center at the Kinder Institute of Urban Research, is echoing the key factors luring people to Houston. He spoke on Hello Houston Monday. The city has added about 1.5 million people to the area in the past 15 years. But the survey also finds 40% of people considered moving out of the Houston area.
Number one reason given was new people, new places, new opportunities. Yeah. So it was recognizing there's a world beyond Houston.
The survey says some of the region's biggest challenges continue to be crime and safety, the economy, and more. I'm Gabrielle Dawkins, News 88.7.
Your check of weather. Showers and thunderstorms possible this afternoon. Otherwise hazy today. Partly sunny with a high of 95 degrees, feeling like 103. Right now, partly cloudy, 85 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. Fisher is committed to helping clients stay on track to reach their financial goals and enjoy a comfortable retirement. FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hey, everyone. It's Tuesday, July 1st, and thanks for joining us.
It's our Friday.
It is our Friday. We will be off, and Ernie has been out on vacation.
Yeah, so it's our Tri-Day.
Our Tri-Day. It's a Tuesday, Friday. I like it. I like it, Frank.
Something like that.
But thanks for joining us today on Hello Houston. Whether you're joining us on YouTube or on the radio, where can people go, Frank?
We're everywhere.
We are everywhere.
You know what? Here's the weather forecast.
Okay.
It's not going to change. It's like 20% chance of afternoon showers every day, 95, 96 for a high, 70s for lows. Tropics are a little interesting. They're a 30% chance of some development out toward Florida or the South Atlantic, so something there to watch. Other than that, it's not very interesting. But yeah, you can go to youtube.com/Houston Public Media. We already have some folks that have joined us there.
Yes, we love our YouTube community, and you can be a part of that. And again, thanks for joining us, whether you're on the radio or on YouTube. You can also check out our podcast. We have a commuter's cut. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. You can go to hellohouston.show and follow us there. And, we have a great show.
We have a lot of studio guests today, too, which is always more fun.
Very
we can
fun.
Look them in the eye and ask questions.
Yes, yes. And we have somebody in our studio right now, but we're going to come up with that in a second. But yes, coming up on Hello Houston, we'll be speaking with the director of the Mayor's Office of Special Events, Ricardo Magdaleno, who will give us a behind-the-scenes look at this year's Freedom Over Texas. So the weather for that will be...
Same as today.
Okay.
Hot and humid. But by the evening hours when the big fireworks show is going, it'll be fine. I mean, maybe a little humid,
it'll be nice.
But it'll be Friday night, and it'll be the 4th of July, and it should be spectacular.
Fabulous. So getting right into our headlines, Houston is one of the only top 5 U.S. cities with a weekly public session where residents can speak directly to elected city officials. But it is held Tuesdays at 2 p.m., which is during work hours, and according to Council Member Mario Castillo of District H, that timing shuts many working Houstonians, students, and caregivers out. So he is proposing moving one session a month, the last Tuesday to 6 p.m. City Council votes on this July 9th. Some members say they haven't heard enough support for it, which is Castillo says this change is needed. Joining us now is Houston City Council member Mario Castillo of District H. Mario, welcome to Hello Houston. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you.
If you have questions for Council Member Castillo, you can call at 713-440-8870.
So change is hard.
Yes, it is.
And the guy who always wants to make the change always comes under fire for it for some reason. So tell us the basics. Why do you want to change at least one session per month, which would be what, 1 out of 4?
Correct. Sometimes there's 5 depending on the calendar. But, since being elected, I've gone and done a lot of community engagement myself. I've did a number of town halls right out of the gate all over my district. And people really appreciated being able to come to their community center, their church, their park, and engage with their local government. And we've heard from people who have been to public session to talk to us, hey, I had to take off work to be here, or I need to get moved up on the list because I got to go pick my kids up from school. Can you help me out? I want to talk to y'all. It doesn't work for a lot of folks. And so for me, hearing a lot of my colleagues express, their desire to be more accessible to the community, hearing the mayor early on say we should look at moving this to a different time. It's like, okay, now a year and a half into my term, we haven't seen anything happen. Well, let's make something happen.
And have you had any resistance?
The consensus, I believe, is that the more we hear from folks and the more accessible we are, the better public servants we are. The reason that this was done through the Proposition A process was because I wanted people to have that give and take, ask questions, get answers, come up with some suggestions on how to tweak it. There's been some suggestions. Well, maybe we start out quarterly. Every quarter we have an evening session. The original proposal that I proposed was to have this rotate off-site between council districts. And so we'd start with District A and then B and then C, and every month we'd go to a different district. The logistics we need to work out. There's a cost associated with that. So now the proposal is to move the public session on the last Tuesday of the month to the evening, but still be held at City Hall.
Now, Councilmember Castillo, you talked about Proposition A. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about Proposition A and when that came about? Because what you are proposing is you're able to do that because of Proposition A.
That's correct. So the voters passed Proposition A in 2023 in the November election, and it gave 3 council members the ability to add something to the council agenda. This was an ability we didn't have prior. And what happened was a Proposition A committee was created, and then rules were established that said, okay, 3 council members can sign on and put something on the agenda, or 1 council member can submit something to the committee, and the committee will hear it, do the due diligence, ask the questions, kind of work it out, tweak it, and then it can get voted out to the agenda, or if for whatever reason there's no quorum or anything, 2 other people can sign on and it can get placed on the agenda. And so for me, putting it to the committee first was important because I wanted to work out the details, get the dialogue, have the public weigh in, get suggestions from my colleagues, because I think that's how, better ideas can be made or something can get improved, and then we can get full support from the council.
So, there's been a little bit of kickback with some of these Republican town halls across the nation. Does anyone have any concern that Houstonians would go to these meetings to really voice opinions that are, I guess, gaslit maybe? Or where do you think this will go? I think this is going to be more than just, I need a pothole fixed.
We get that now. I'll say, we have people that come to us and you can sign up and you can talk about whatever you want. It's your time. You can sign up for 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes. And for the most part, it's things that are on the agenda that week or, issues that are passionate to people. When I first got on there was a lot of folks talking about a ceasefire. We have people that came and talked about the budget when we were considering the budget, and so the topics that people are motivated by to come and speak. And then you get folks that come up and we had somebody sing us a song last week, and that's how they use their time. They sang us a Katy Perry song. So you just never know really, but it's the public's time and their right to come and address their elected officials.
Now, how long has this been in order where people can come and speak directly to district or, council members or elected officials? Because I would imagine that some opposition might say if it's really important, you should take time off. You should figure out how to find childcare. Obviously, you want accessibility, but it's been happening the way it's been happening for a while now. So why, kind of like Frank was saying, change is hard. Why change it up if things have been going well so far?
You know, I've heard a lot from folks that have expressed the desire to access their local government at a time that's not in the middle of the day. In the middle of the week. I held a community meeting with a colleague out in my district on 11th Street and at a church, you know, and the room was full. And we asked, if this is your first time at a civic meeting or, you know, engaging with your local government, raise your hand. About 2/3 of the room raised their hand. But it was on the weekend at 10 o'clock, you know, and so that gave folks different opportunity to come and engage. So that's what this is about. That's not to say that we do this for 6 months, and if nobody's showing up, we don't need to keep doing it, right? We can pilot it. I'm not opposed to doing it quarterly if that's what, you know, the consensus is.
And that is what you're proposing, right? The last Tuesday of each month.
Yep.
At 6 p.m.
Yep.
But you could go every 3 months if it. Are some council members? I mean, they have their own families they want to get home to. I guess at 6 p.m. Is that the pushback from some of them, or how do you go to get it just done?
You know, Tuesdays are busy with civic meetings in the evening. Super neighborhood councils meet, civic clubs meet.
Neighborhood night out.
Exactly. There's always something going on, especially when you're talking about a Tuesday in the evening. And there's never going to be a perfect day, you know. But I do think that trying it and giving folks that chance is really important, because we will be able to see what the result is. And if it's not working, we meet every week. We can figure out, hey, let's pivot it back or let's adjust it. But enough people have communicated to us their difficulties with this, and enough of my colleagues, and the mayor himself, agree that we should do something different, that we got to take action. We can figure out how to move forward, because we could sit around the horseshoe and come up with a bunch of reasons why not to do it. But I think the onus is on us to be creative, be proactive, and give people a better option.
And City Council votes on this on July 9th. So it will. Do you think it will most likely pass? Go forward?
A simple vote, just majority.
Majority vote. It was on the previous agenda. It did get tagged, which means it gets kicked to the next meeting agenda. So there is the ability for that to happen one more time with folks who weren't present at the previous meeting. They have their right to tag it, which would potentially kick it to the next meeting. But I believe that because one of the reasons it was tagged was, well, we're not hearing enough from the public that they want this. We've now started to hear public support, emails, calls, that this is what they want.
Coincidentally, we have Marion from the Heights. I think part of your district is the Heights.
Woodland Heights, yes.
Yeah. So we have Marion on the phone. Question or comment, Marion?
Hi.
Hi.
Maria, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. And I want to say Councilmember Castillo has done so much to listen to the public. We really do appreciate him coming out and having meetings like he does. But I speak at council a lot, and I know all of the council members. I live close, so it's not a big deal for me to run downtown. But I get calls from people that live all around. In fact, recently I got a call from my friend who lives in Kingwood and asking about flooding issues and whatnot, and got them in touch with Councilmember Flickinger, and they were able to get, a response or whatever. But she can't just run downtown and speak at public sessions. So if you could do it in the different districts, it would make such a difference to the people that live far away.
All right. Thanks, Marion. I hadn't really thought of that, but we were talking yesterday about Houston's lack of a good transit system. I mean, it isn't like you can pop on the subway and get downtown in 20 minutes. So what's your response to that?
That was part of the original proposal.
Yeah.
Take it to the communities. The biggest takeaway from our dialogue and from hearing from some departments is that there's a cost to it, because we have to live stream our public sessions. We have to record them. We have to have security there, because there's security at City Hall. So you have to get screened. So taking that out to a multi-service center, a community center, there's a cost. There's setup, microphones for all the council members, chairs, all of those things. So I'm still going to advocate for that. It's going to take a little more time to figure all the logistics out, make sure we could do it right. But this is a good step for step one while we work towards some offsite public sessions, because that also came from the mayor. When someone mentioned it, he said, "Yeah, we should be doing this out in the community."
I've spoken all over the city, and it's almost a crapshoot on whether you're going to get a good audio visual setup or not, and it is. It's a lot. Someone said, Alex from YouTube said, "What about Zooming? People set up a Zoom. We have Zoom here on Hello Houston, and we found it to be really effective. People can just call in on a link and talk to them, and perhaps people could ask a question that way."
Yes. So somebody mentioned this also when we had our committee meeting. You know, what if we set up sort of a virtual staging option at a multi-service center, at a city facility, where people can show up there and speak to us through Zoom. So it's out in the communities. It's not at City Hall, but they're still able to address us virtually. So that's also something that's part of this off-site component that's going to be looked at.
Amazing. So talk to us a little bit about your district. Where does District H cover, and what are some of the feedback that you are getting from your area?
So District H, it's a very diverse part of the city. So it starts in downtown. Texas Avenue is the southern boundary. And then it goes north. You're going to get Old 6th Ward, Memorial Heights, 1st Ward, Woodland Heights, near North Side, all the way up to East Tex Jensen, North Line, Melrose area. And then west, you get Independence Heights, Garden Oaks, Shepherd Park.
Wow, so you really have a very
nice
wide array of
yeah.
different areas. And I would imagine those different pockets have different concerns and issues.
Yes. I mean, the northwest boundary is Pinemont and Ella, right? So then you have Texas Avenue on the south. You've got Woodland Heights, and then I go from downtown east into 2nd Ward,
that's very different.
Denver Harbor, all the way to the port.
Oh, wow.
So it looks like a big boot if you look at it on a map, but a lot of diversity in the communities and the needs and the issues that are impacting different neighborhoods. But the feedback has been positive on this item.
Well, I know you're a big healthcare guy, right? I mean, that was your major.
Public health.
Yeah,
yep.
Public health. And we're seeing nationally a lot of threats to Medicare and Medicaid. Do you see any of that in your district and in this city? I know we're talking to a doctor yesterday who said not a lot of Houstonians are on Medicaid.
Right.
But you probably know better than I do what the threat is to our community.
The threat is significant. Our health department is mostly grant funded. City tax dollars that go into the health department, it pales in comparison to what we're pulling down from state, federal grants to fund positions and operations and programs. I used to work at the health department. I was a grant-funded employee. It was through a Zika grant, when that was going on. Yeah. And so with those going away, it impacts operations directly, because that's people, that's folks that are, doing outreach, they're doing preventative care, they're keeping folks healthy and out of the medical system, emergency rooms, those things. It's a little scary to know that with a department that does so much and relies heavily on federal funds, that those may not be there in the future.
What's the solution?
Great question. I mean, I think, one of the amendments I proposed at our budget this past May was to look at bringing the county's health department and the cities and consolidating them, because they both do the same thing, track disease, they do prevention, vaccines, all of these things, but they do it in different geographical regions. One is the city of Houston, one's unincorporated Harris County. And so why are we duplicating those efforts when we're literally just doing the same thing across, a line? Let's consolidate them, and there's a way to reduce costs there, but improve efficiencies, which we're going to need to do in an era where grant dollars are drying up.
You're listening to Hello Houston, and this morning we are speaking with Houston Council Member Mario Castillo of District H. You can call in and ask questions for Council Member Castillo at 713-440-8870.
Anything you want to tell us about Your Houston? I know that you're really involved in that.
Yes. So we just actually, this is a nonprofit that I'm the executive director of. It focuses on public health, quality of life issues, which was what I was focused on before getting elected. And we actually just wrapped up our large community health worker initiative. So we worked in zip codes and neighborhoods across the city that were disproportionately impacted by the effects of the pandemic. You know, it could have been lack of primary care. It could have been lack of internet to access those virtual visits or sign up for your vaccine appointment. It could have been lack of quality food. And we worked with community health workers certified by the state and placed them in non-traditional organizations like churches that had a network of folks that were there weekly. They had the trust and the buy-in, but they could be trusted messengers and say, hey, what is it that you're dealing with on, this side of the equation? Can we help get you connected to a primary care doctor? Can we help make sure you're taking your medication? Or if you're all in a chronic disease situation like high blood pressure, we're in a class to help you learn ways to manage that. That was a really, heartwarming initiative because the non-traditional organizations were really open to it, and they learned that they could play a role in public health that they didn't necessarily see themselves in.
Yeah.
Another call. Jacob in Montrose. Hi, Jacob. What's up?
Oh, nothing much except you have Mario, my favorite Aggie.
Hey, Jacob. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
You have a question?
Yeah, of course I do, and that is about the accessibility of the city council for people in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Excellent question. Thanks, Jacob.
Even if you don't go to 6 p.m., is there an accessibility issue for wheelchair-bound people?
We had somebody come to public session and raise this question, and this gentleman was in a wheelchair, and I know the mayor offered to do a tour to figure out if there were areas at City Hall itself that needed to be improved or revamped. So that's something that I'll follow up on.
Well, it sounds good. It sounds like you're busy.
Yes.
Which is good. We want our city council to be busy.
That's right.
That's right. Houston Council Member Mario Castillo of District H, thanks for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And coming up on Hello Houston, the city of Houston is gearing up for the Freedom Over Texas, which is Houston's 4th of July celebration. Along Allen Parkway, the director of the mayor's office of special events, Ricardo Magdaleno, will give us a behind-the-scenes look at this celebration. This is News 88.7.
I'm Josh Adams, the new general manager of Houston Public Media, and we are here for one reason: you. I'm thrilled to lead this remarkable team dedicated to our mission of informing, educating, and inspiring everyone in the greater Houston area. And yes, these are challenging times, but together we'll meet them head on with bold ideas, honest reporting, and stories that matter. Houston Public Media is your public media. Together, let's make it incredible.
Hi, I'm Lacey Healy. I host a show about national security called Things That Go Boom. Usually on Things That Go Boom, we talk about foreign wars. But lately, there is so much division and anger over the huge and sometimes illegal changes coming from the White House, I had to weigh in. Tune in to our new special, Divided America, where I ask, how did we get here? And how do we get back on track?
You can hear it this Friday at 11 a.m.
Hi, I'm Sam Payne, host of The Appleseed, where great stories can change your world. And on the next episode of the show, you'll hear Andy Offit Irwin with one of his Aunt Marguerite stories. You'll hear Aunt Marguerite say,
"Do you know about liberty enlightening the world and how important it is to our family?"
Liberty Enlightening the World is the proper name, after all, of the Statue of Liberty. Join us for The Story on The Appleseed with me, Sam Payne.
It's on Friday, July 4th. That starts at noon.
Donations come in many forms: a monthly membership, a one-time gift, and that extra vehicle you no longer need. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. Learn more at houstonpublicmedia.org/cars. And thank you
Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
Houston is gearing up for its Independence Day Bash, Freedom Over Texas. And this year's celebration is jam-packed, with Grammy-winning country stars Lee Brice and Ashley McBryde taking the stage, and a newly refreshed event layout along Buffalo Bayou. The city is ready to light up the sky and bring the community together in a big way. And joining us now is Ricardo Magdaleno, the director of the Mayor's Office of Special Events, to give us a behind-the-scenes look at this year's festivities, from the music to the fireworks and everything in between. Ricardo, welcome to Hello
Ricardo.
Houston.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Talk about busy. I bet you've been really busy.
Extremely busy.
And you were just telling us about how it's happening right now. You guys are set up. You're in the mix of it. Like,
Right.
as anybody knows, when you're putting on a big event, it's go time, right?
Right.
So talk to us. What's happening right now?
Right now, I mean, we're deep into the production. I mean, we're building the stage. We're laying out the site. We got tents going on all over the place. Pyro is already on site. They came in yesterday morning, so we got a truck full of explosive material.
And they don't really practice that. You
No.
know, it's like it's just done.
Yeah, it's a strategic move, but we got fencing, security in place, getting things ready, but a lot of movements.
About how many people do you expect at this event?
We average out, we're looking at about 50,000, on a good day. Yeah, for sure. It's a packed house.
It says it's a little bit of a different layout.
You know what? We're on Allen Parkway from downtown Bagby to Gillette. We are relocating a few of the assets. We're kind of adding a little bit of our touch in there, but it's going to be the same great show.
Have you ever done a study, and I'm just making this up as I go along, of if you can't get down in the crowd of 50,000, where are the best places around Houston to see this?
Everybody asks me, you know what, as long as you're not on 45, okay?
And pull your car off or just
don't
stop in the middle and get a lawn chair out.
You know what, I think there's always, there's great views from the Spots Park, off of Waugh Bridge, on Inbound Memorial. There's spots around the Midtown area, as long as you get that clean line of sight for the air, to see the fireworks.
Any time?
Well, I mean, the fireworks are at 9:35.
Okay.
Exactly.
So certainly before then.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're not going to see anything before then, but, definitely 9:35.
Yeah.
You're listening to Hello Houston. You can give us a call at 713-440-8870. We are speaking with Ricardo Magdaleno, who is setting up the Freedom Over Texas. We did get a message on YouTube. The Truth says, I can see the setup from my office looks legit. So talk to us about how legit is this? Let's start with entertainment.
Right. Well, Lee Brice, we're looking forward to Lee Brice closing the show. Ashley McBryde. It took a good number of months trying to work out and negotiate with the agencies, and it's sort of a passion behind that. But lock them down, and we're excited for a great show.
Is there a special, maybe ours, I don't know, radio station, if you are somewhere other than the park and you're watching the show, is there a recommended radio station?
Yeah, I think we're definitely, Radio 1 is a partner, and they're going to be covering it. And so I think 93Q Country is their station.
Okay.
Yes, but you can only get access to Ricardo on 88.7. So just so you know.
Absolutely, right now.
88.7, right here on Hello Houston. Again, 713-440-8870. Now, I will be out there with my kiddos. Yeah. Talk to us about family-friendly activities that y'all will have up, and where should people be going if they have kids?
No, for sure. You know what? This is a family event. I mean, we're celebrating July 4th, right? So we can't go with a big celebration without some family fun. The Liberty Park is full of military assets. My kids love seeing all those military vehicles. They're going to be out there, all the branches of military. The kids zone is going to be jam-packed with a lot of activities and games for children. We got the premiere of Superman. They're going to be on site showing off some artifacts and stuff. I don't think Superman will be here, but then again, you never know.
He's everywhere.
Absolutely.
He is everywhere. He might surprise. Will there be bouncies? I know every parent is like, Are there bouncies at these events?
The problem with bouncies is that it's very hot, and you will get stuck, and it would burn the kids. And so we actually will not have bouncies, but we do definitely have other kind of games.
And again, 713-440-8870. We did get a comment, which I think is interesting. And somebody asks on YouTube, he says, I hate to be that guy, but how does the city justify the expense with the severe budget issues it's facing?
Well,
and how much is it?
I can't lock in on an exact number. We are working through some budgets right now, but I can tell you that our goal is to raise money through sponsorship and corporate funding. Any public funding that's involved comes from tourism tax.
Okay.
Right. So we really don't tap into the everyday taxes that the citizens pay for. This is tourism tax, but however, that is on the back end. We really pay the event through sponsorship. There's gate admissions, there's sales on site. There is money made that pay for the event. The event really doesn't make a lot of money. It actually pays for it. And so if we come out paying bills, we're happy.
We have a call. Veronica from Siena has either a comment or a question. For Ricardo. Hi, welcome to Hello Houston, Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo.
Hi.
Hi. So I have a little bit more of a question regarding security.
Yes,
just due to the political climate of the circumstances with Trump and all that's happened overseas, et cetera, I immediately was thinking when that happened, wow, how is our 4th of July going to work out with everybody who might be against America, if you will?
No, yeah, I understand.
What are your? I mean, I know you can't share all your secrets, but are you confident with the security and protection around such a large, massive situation and the scale of the event?
Thanks, Veronica. Great question.
Great question. And you know what? We get this question every year. It's unfortunate with the climate that we're going through, but I can guarantee you that, our collaboration with the police department, the fire department, it's months and months and months of discussions and conversations. There's definitely going to be a great presence of security on site between private and city. The event goes through checks and balances going into the gate, so people are searched. We will have, security and police in areas that, we don't speak of, but they're there, So security is an extremely important thing for us and something that we're cognizant for every event. I'm certain that, we're going to have a safe environment and, God forbid things happen, but we'll take care of it.
How many years now? I've been watching this for 35 years at least.
35 years.
35?
I think it's been 39 years in total.
Yeah.
I'll surprise you. I've worked 25 with the city.
Which I was going to ask you, Ricardo, you are obviously, this is not the only special event that you do.
No.
Do you feel like there have been years where maybe things have felt a little bit more relaxed? How do you feel about things now in the given landscape that we are in?
You know what? There's always something, unfortunately, that we're battling. A few years back, there was an incident at a festival, and, we're always facing things. Parades are under scrutiny, across the country. There's people just doing crazy things, but security is always on top.
Your top of priority.
Absolutely. And for the fire department, too, the health, it's hot. We've got to make sure people, hydrate and that we have cooling stations, water stations. So concern is across the board.
Was it 2017 that the weather knocked it out?
2017. It feels that way.
It feels that way.
It seems like the summers have gotten hotter, but it's a fluctuation. Right?
Yeah, I just remember that one had to cancel, but that was
we got flooded.
Yeah, but usually that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen this year.
No, sir.
And I feel like Ernie isn't here, but he would be the one to ask about food. What can people expect in regards to food? We're talking about entertainment, we're talking weather, we've talked security. Now we need to know. I mean, Houston has some of the best to offer.
My kind of guy. Yeah. So no, definitely we got a little bit of everything. A lot of local delicacies. I mean, your typical hot dogs and turkey legs and things like that. But you'd be surprised. We have a variety of international foods. People with crazy fusions.
Well, you said 9:30, but people do come at what time? 2 in the afternoon?
For sure. No. We're at 4 o'clock doors.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock doors. And
so you can make a dinner out of it.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally. You make a whole evening out of it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Just come prepared.
For everything.
How long do you all start preparing for this event? Like I said, you do a lot of events, but for the specific 4th of July.
Paperwork begins 8
July
months
5th?
to a year. No, yeah, literally. We start working on the following year, look at entertainment, what the budget's going to be like, all that. Talk to sponsors, make sure they come back.
And what are some of the biggest events that the city of Houston puts on?
This is one of them.
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
I think equal the Astros victory parade.
Wow.
That was us.
Okay, speaking of which, you've got to talk to us about that cap.
I know I would get called out. It's not a New York Yankees hat. No, it's not. My Astros hats are worn out. I'm a Cougar. My hats don't fit anymore.
Cougs.
This is a Monterey baseball team. I'm into international baseball. The Sultanes. It's my hometown. I support them.
How are they doing?
They do great. They do great. Absolutely.
So, what are you guys most excited about this year? You guys have changed up like the way the venue is going to be set up, but what are some of the other exciting things that people can expect?
You know what? It's a long list, and definitely we have the information online. But Dr. Pepper stage this time, we're really livening it up. Every year, it's hard for us because the bar constantly keeps going higher and higher, and to match that is tough. But the Dr. Pepper stage is going to have some great local talent. We got a Selena tribute band that's closing that stage.
Nice.
It's going to be fantastic. Absolutely. So no, we're looking forward to it.
When does the music start? So if you get there at 4.
Right, 4 o'clock. We got house music going on at the stages. I believe the Dr. Pepper starts either at 5 or 5:30.
And we did get an email. Marcia Wolf would like to know, where are folks supposed to park and then walk to Allen Parkway to view the fireworks show?
Great question. Downtown Theater District's always a great place. There's a lot of private lots all over downtown. If you Uber, which I think it's a great idea, they will probably drop you off on the west side of the Parkway, Allen Parkway by Gillette, Taft area. If you do come into town, I recommend, park around Minute Maid, park around Discover Green, find an area over there, get on the Metro Rail, drop off right off of Bagby at Rusk.
And if somebody wants more information about tickets and where they can find all of that, where should they go?
You should definitely go to freedomovertexas.org, or you can go to houstontx.gov/special events to find that information.
Ricardo Magdaleno is the director of the Mayor's Office of Special Events. Ricardo, thanks for popping in. I know that you are out and about getting set up, and so we appreciate it.
No, thank you very much.
And good luck.
And good luck.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right. And so, it's really interesting because we have these major events and there's so much that goes into them. It's like planning a wedding, but the city's doing it.
And they make it seem seamless.
Yes.
I mean, Ricardo and his crew, whether it's that or the Super Bowl or the rodeo, all you have to do is show up.
You just have to show up. You have to find that parking. And I think that that's something that the city of Houston does well.
It is everyone thinks about security these days. I mean, I go into a grocery store and I make sure I know what's what. I think we're all a little paranoid.
Absolutely.
But you can't live your life. That's what that's what you can't do. You have to live your life for yourself and put your best foot forward and hope
and
for
I
the
also
best.
think that we forget so many times because we live here and like you and I, we live in the city, and that where we forget we are the 4th largest city, and so we have a big influx every single day of people coming in.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the city's like, we'll have thousands of people, on Allen Parkway.
Yeah, like we learned yesterday, diversity is our strength. That is the favorite thing that people love about Houston is the diversity.
And the food.
Of course, the food.
So really quickly, I know, I had quite a few friends reach out to me talking to me about Eloise Nichols. How did it go? You went to the brunch, the closing.
It was wonderful, but, I'm so sad that they're leaving. But so many restaurants are facing so many issues in Houston.
Right now.
Whether it's even tariffs with food prices, but leases are going up by 25%. Which can take you from $30,000 to $40,000 a month pretty quickly. The staffing is becoming more difficult, as we know. Some people are afraid to go to work. I mean, so there's that, and then the cost of food has gone up.
Yeah, and labor. And
absolutely.
it's harder to get people to work in that environment, hospitality.
Yes. So all of it is a challenge for restaurants these days. I was at one place the other day, and there was virtually no parking. Yeah. I know. It's like, okay, if you should put that on your website. Please ride share because there will be nowhere to park.
Which we know Houstonians, we like parking. We like to find our parking. We expect it,
yes.
right? And that's
okay. They didn't have any.
That's a part. I mean, Dan and I mean, this was years ago. We were in New York City and we were at this, what was supposed to be like the cool Thai place to eat at in New York. And we were there and we were just kind of like, this is it.
Yeah.
We were super smashed in and it was just,
But shout out to Eloise Nichols. Staff is great. The Adair family is wonderful.
Yeah.
Katie and Will run the place. And of course, they still have Los Tios and Adair's Kitchen. And I mean, it's not like
there's
they're
options,
gone.
but I just hate to see good restaurants go because of like lease situations.
I know.
Right? But coming up, we'll talk about what it's like to see yourself turned into a meme.
Not me yet. Probably soon.
Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
The so-called Big Beautiful Bill has taken a bumpy ride in the Senate. Lawmakers from both parties have pushed for changes to the massive piece of legislation that would touch just about every American. What parts of this GOP mega bill are you paying attention to? We'll answer your questions and talk about what you need to know in a big, beautiful conversation next time on 1A.
You can listen to 1A coming up this afternoon at 2 p.m.
I'm Jesse Thorne. Why did Cole Escola write a bonkers, hilarious, highly fictionalized play about Mary Todd Lincoln? They've actually been hoping you wouldn't ask.
Like, I wish I could say, like, well, you know, it was 2020 and we were all so isolated. I just started doing research. But the truth is, no, I just thought of it.
Then they won the Tony. That's the next bullseye from MaximumFun.org and NPR.
Listen this Thursday night at 9 o'clock.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film.
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
Books.
The detail is amazing.
Art.
There's all the personal stuff.
Theatre.
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
Music.
The dance floor is made for dancing.
And everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's the Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty.
I really identified with it.
From the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7.
The men who wrote these famous lines,
we hold these truths to be self-evident.
That all men are created equal.
Were deeply influenced by science.
Just like we can study the natural world, we can study government and come up with a better form of government.
I'm Mike and Scott. Join me for a 4th of July special when we explore how science shaped the Declaration of Independence and brings us flags, hot dogs, and fireworks.
You can hear it this Friday at 9 a.m.
And now back to Hello Houston. To get your comment in on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
Thanks for joining us. We are receiving word. There is breaking news. The Senate GOP has passed President Trump's sweeping policy bill, setting up decisive vote in the House. Again, the Senate Republicans have passed President Trump's big, beautiful bill. The final vote was 51-50 with Vice President J.D. Vance breaking a tie. Obviously, we will be monitoring this, and we will continue to keep you updated with the latest on President Trump's big, beautiful bill that has passed.
Sure, there will be memes about that.
I guarantee you there will be.
We all share memes with our friends, or at least scroll through them on Facebook and social media all the time, pretty much every day. Maybe you've wondered what it's like to actually be part of a meme. So this is one of the memes, and we're going to put it up. We're going to live stream.
Yes, we do.
If you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to see it pop up there. But this is a meme from 2011. An image was captured of a man at a Houston Astros game talking to a blonde woman sitting next to him. The image circulated online and became a popular meme known as the, quote, bro explaining meme. Kind of like mansplaining.
Kind of like mansplaining,
They accuse me
Frank.
of doing that to you all the time. So I know where you're coming from, bro. For years, many have speculated about the exact origins of this meme. Who's that guy? Who's that woman? What's going on here? And guess what? Dustin Jones has chosen Hello Houston to come out of the splaining closet. So welcome to Hello Houston. We have it up there right now on our YouTube channel. You're sort of taking us, lady, you have your hand around her neck. Her ponytail is on the other side. And their other hand is like, okay, here's the thing.
Yeah. So
here's what you need to understand.
Take us back to 2011. Talk to us a little bit of context about what was going on.
Sure. The midget was this tall.
That's what the hand is all about. So you're at an Astros game.
Yeah.
Who's playing? Do you remember?
I don't recall who was playing that day, no.
Did they win? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, they won.
Well, who was the woman?
She was my girlfriend at the time, Joy Trimble.
She was so she's now your ex-girlfriend.
Correct.
And
are you still friends?
Yeah,
okay.
we're still friends.
What was the conversation? It looks like it's a little intense.
I really don't know. I'm very intense. So that's why it's so funny that it came out, and the first one wasn't very nice what they said about it. But I think I was just telling a story, and just get animated. And
do you remember?
Do you often grab women by the back of the neck to
No.
get their attention?
And that's what's funny, because I think we were just casually like, I have my arm around my girlfriend at the time, and like holding her, and like
having a totally harmless conversation
exactly.
at a baseball game. You're comfortable. Who took the picture?
It's funny. Nobody's come forth to say that they took the picture, but we kind of, by a process of elimination, figured out who it was. We were both in the nightlife industry. She was a bartender and I was a door guy.
Okay.
And there's a lot of photographers that come all the time, and take pictures of the patrons and stuff. And when it came out, just the way that it was worded, you knew that they kind of knew me, but didn't really know me, and so
kind of like teasing you,
exactly.
Right.
Trolling me,
Trolling you a little bit. Okay, so how do you know that you're going viral?
Oh, you don't until you get 1,000 messages in your inbox, that, oh my God, have you seen this? And then now I get one about once a week, some new story, some new,
so
getting picked up.
To kind of explain a meme, because we all kind of think we know what it is. But somebody takes a picture and then they put their own caption,
right?
Yeah.
And make it. And so I'm looking at some of these, like you. Once is where you're saying, okay, it's the same thing but different.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite captions that have been put on this?
Side chick is my absolute favorite. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but it's a meme that says, we're going to start a chicken food truck and park it right next to Chick-fil-A and only be open on Sundays. It's called Side Chick, and that was one of my favorites.
Amazing. And so what is some of the
funny.
feedback from your family? I mean, did your parents see it? Like, what was that conversation like?
My parents are so cool. They just kind of shrugged it off, laughed about it. The first one was about, it called me like a oil trust fund kid. My dad was in the steel business, steel fabrication business. That's how I knew that they kind of knew a little bit about me. Like, it was more personal than it was just a random meme. So.
Yeah, some of the memes are accusing you of being the spoiled guy.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of this one, me explaining to my parents that I can't pause an online game.
Do you know about how many hits it's gotten or how many times it's been?
Million. I would say in the hundreds of millions now.
And you get $1 every time?
I get zero.
Really? So nothing comes out of it. So you literally, people can just reshare your image. They can put you out there and you get nothing.
I've heard, and a bunch of people reach out to me and say, man, you should sue them. You should do this.
But who would you sue exactly?
Anybody that tries to use it for profit. So if somebody was using it as an advertisement or something similar to that, then I think that there is repercussions. But I haven't chased it down. It's kind of funny to me. So
it's a hard row to hoe, that one.
Yeah,
you'd have to sue everybody.
Right.
Did you ever get your feelings hurt? Like, was there ever one that you saw that maybe felt a little too personal, or you felt attacked, or I don't know?
The only one I don't like is them talking about me, like holding her by the neck, because I know her and we were.
You had
so
your arm
personal.
around her.
Yeah. Well, if you look close, nobody looks really close at it. She has this smirk, which is very funny because it's kind of a cute thing.
She definitely has a smirk.
It's kind of, well, if you know her and you know that look, it's kind of cute. She's like kind of laughing at me at the same time. Like, you can see it underlying. And that's how I knew. I was like, well, I wasn't being, aggressive or, in any way mean. I was just passionate and telling a story.
You look a little different. You've grown a mustache and you've lost about 15 pounds. So you look
I think that's collagen, getting, a little older now.
Yeah, maybe so. So just have you, I'm sure at first you were like, okay, what's going on here? It's sort of, you're have a great attitude about this, but you've got to feel for some people whose lives are turned into memes. A lot of people that refused the COVID vaccine and then died, and then they use that picture of them as a sort of an ugly meme. So what is your thought on this whole process of people taking a picture and then exploiting it to get a laugh?
Sure. that's a personal issue, you know, for certain people. You know, for me, I don't mind at all. It's fun. You know, like I've been
made fun of since you were a kid.
Well, I've been part of a lot of teams, you know, where guys are rousing each other, you know, and stuff. So that stuff doesn't bother me. But
so you're a guy's guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if it does hurt somebody, like that's when I think, you know, if it would have bothered me, then maybe take, you know, the next step to try and get people to take it down or not to use it. You know, so if it does hurt people,
yeah.
And this happened back in 2011. And obviously, the internet has evolved a ton. And nowadays, kids post things all the time trying to go viral. You didn't necessarily intend that to happen. Do you have any advice to kids out there that are like, oh, man, this is so cool because I want my image everywhere?
Well, I have a 15-year-old son. So absolutely. Be careful. You know, because once it's up there forever. You know, you can't take it down. So be careful what you're doing, you know, but in good fun, you know, have as much fun as you can.
Well, and the nice thing about yours is that you're not trying. You know, so many people try to create a meme, and I think they fake it, and they're acting, and that to try to get to your level of success. I think. In case you don't know, we're talking to Dustin Jones, the man from the Bro Explaining meme. If you have any questions, you can certainly send them our way. So you're part of a new reality show.
I am.
Tell us about that, because I see your hat says Athletic 100. What is this?
Did that come out of the meme at
No.
all? Okay. I was curious. You know, you didn't say you made any monetary benefit from this, but did you get any other notoriety? But now you're on this reality show.
Just personally, you know, just through my friends that I already have, you know, seeing it. And then occasionally, you know, I'll see somebody. And recently, a good friend of mine's nephew came to town. He's from Austin. And we took him to an Astros game. And he started tugging my buddy on the arm. He goes, he's baseball meme guy. And it was so funny. It was great.
So tell us about the reality show.
Yeah.
What's it about? How'd you get involved?
Sure. I created it, wrote it. I've been an athlete my whole life, and I was doing Spartans and mud dashes, and I really enjoyed it, but it was more about just completing the race, getting your medal, you know, just completing. And there's higher levels where they're getting very competitive, but I wanted something that wasn't just to complete it, but actually to failure. Because there's a ton of shows out there where they're counting reps or they're doing by time. Well, I wanted to find out who the absolute best athlete was. You know, so the exercises and the challenges that we do in the TV show are to absolute failure. Almost every single one of them, whether you're the first or the last, you go into you absolutely fail. So
well, good workout. That's the goal, is to fail.
Right.
And so when you talk about Spartans really quickly, for people, and, you know, mud dashes, for people that don't understand that, when you're saying doing an exercise to fail, explain that process, because I don't think people really understand that you can physically do that, but to compete in those types of situations, there's a big mental capacity there as well that you're leaning into.
Certainly. So I'll just go to the very first exercise that we do, or the first challenge. It's a gasser. They'll run 50-yard sprints nonstop until everyone fails. And it starts with a 20-second time limit, but it decreases by 1 second every time. And so we actually capped it at 10 seconds, which if people don't know, like an Olympic runner runs 50 yards in about 5.5 seconds. So to do that, and it's called the Texas Mile, after they've done that 20 times, they're almost to a mile, you know, and they're sprinting that back and forth and back and forth. So
do contestants, I guess, for this show just sign up? And
we had a round of auditions. Yep, we had a round of auditions.
Can I sign Frank up?
Yeah, you should do it, Celeste. So, okay, great. Where can we see it?
On YouTube, Athletic 100 Show.
Wonderful.
We just dropped episode 3 on Sunday. Each Sunday at 6 p.m. we drop a new episode.
Well, thanks for coming on Hello Houston. Thanks for coming out of the bleachers for us.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Dustin Jones is the man from the popular Bro Explaining meme. Dustin, again, thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me, guys.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into the top stories of the day. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Did you know Houston Public Media accepts vehicle donations? If you've got a car or truck that you don't need anymore, donate it to our station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars or more in support. Go online to houstonpublicmedia.org/cars for more info.
We have a 50% chance of more showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 2 o'clock today. Currently, it's 89. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into today's top stories, including a controversial migrant detention center in the Florida Everglades called Alligator Alcatraz. The state has stood it up in a matter of days. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. We'll also discuss the 50th anniversary of beloved Houston institution, Cactus Music, with owner Quinn Bishop, who'll take us through the record store's 5 decades-long journey.
Plus, we'll also speak with 2 individuals involved with Rice University's Archives of the Impossible, which features millions of documents, recordings, and files related to unexplained phenomena, just in time for World UFO Day.
And we want to hear from you, so give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The U.S. Senate has narrowly passed President Trump's bill of tax breaks and spending cuts, including those to Medicaid and SNAP, the health care and food assistance programs that serve millions of low-income Americans. The legislation passed 51-50, with Vice President J.D. Vance casting the tie-breaking vote. Now it's back to the U.S. House. Speaker Mike Johnson says he intends to get the bill approved by July 4th, this Friday. Well, just this morning, President Trump threatened a big critic of that bill, Elon Musk. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports the comments prove that the two men are still at odds a month after the public breakup of their White House partnership.
Just before Trump boarded his helicopter, a reporter asked whether he would deport Musk. Trump said he didn't know and added this.
We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
Trump then referenced the government subsidies that benefit Musk's companies. DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency, is the entity Musk headed until he left in May. Shortly after, the two men had a public falling out stemming from Musk's disapproval of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Musk disapproved that the centerpiece of Trump's legislative agenda would expand the debt by trillions of dollars. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
The Associated Press is calling the race for New York City's Democratic mayoral primary for Zohran Mamdani. Mamdani sought to clarify remarks he made criticizing billionaires, saying he's promoting policies designed to counter income inequality.
Though my taxes that I'm proposing are ones that would be on the top 1% of New Yorkers, on the most profitable corporations, it's not taxes that will detract from their life. It's in fact taxes that will benefit everyone across the city, including those who are being taxed.
Mamdani on NPR's Morning Edition. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he will be in Washington, D.C. next week. He'll meet with President Trump. He says he's also meeting with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff, who has spearheaded Gaza ceasefire talks. More on this from NPR's Hadil Al-Shalchi.
Netanyahu said that besides Trump, he will meet with Vice President Vance and congressional leaders. Netanyahu said he will also hold, quote, security meetings, which he would not detail, as well as a plan for a ceasefire in Gaza. A potential security agreement with Syria is also on the agenda, according to a person familiar with the matter who wasn't authorized to speak to the media. After brokering a ceasefire in the 12-day war between Israel and Iran last month, Trump has signaled he wants to forge ahead with a deal that would see the hostages held by Hamas returned home and an end to the war in Gaza. Netanyahu's trip next week will be his third to Washington since Trump took office. Hadil Al-Shalchi, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow was up more than 300 points. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Colin Allred has announced he will once again run for U.S. Senate. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz defeated Allred by around 8 percentage points during the 2024 election. Allred is the first prominent Democrat to officially announce his run for next year's race. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is the most prominent Republican who's running to defeat Senator John Cornyn in the Republican primary. ExxonMobil will be paying millions of dollars in fines for violations of the Clean Air Act after the company faced defeat Monday at the U.S. Supreme Court. The court loss ends more than a decade-long fight over pollution violations at the oil giant's sprawling refinery in Baytown. News 88.7's Kyle McClinigan has more.
The Supreme Court upheld a ruling from the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which found that Exxon was required to pay about $14 million in penalties for over 1,600 violations of the Clean Air Act, committed between 2005 and 2013. Attorney David Nicholas represented the plaintiffs for the entirety of the case.
It's a tremendous victory for ordinary citizens who live next to illegally polluting plants. It's been a hard-fought battle for 16 years, and the citizens stuck it out all the way, and justice has prevailed. Hopefully this will spur compliance with Exxon's permits and reduce pollution.
Environment Texas and the Sierra Club were also plaintiffs in the case, representing residents located near the Baytown site who were exposed to toxic chemicals. I'm Kyle McClinigan, News 88.7.
Checking sports, the Astros are in Denver tonight to face the Rockies, first pitch at 7:40. Houston continues to lead the AL West by 6.5 games. And your check of weather. We've got showers and thunderstorms possible this afternoon, usually starting around 2 o'clock. Otherwise, it'll be hazy today, partly sunny, the high 95, feeling more like 103. Right now, it's partly cloudy, 89 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for dedicated and forward-thinking individuals to join their growing team. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We're back.
We're back. Welcome back.
Your friend, my British computer guy, said, first hour went way too fast.
It sure did. It flew by, and I think there was because there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot, and when they're in studio and you can have a real, I think the conversation goes a little quicker.
The vibe. Yeah. It's a vibe.
Yeah, so it's very interesting guests.
Yes.
We're going to talk about UFOs coming up.
Yes, that's going to be very fun. But question for you, Frank, do you have any fun 4th of July plans?
Nope, not a one. I don't.
That's good.
What's really weird for me.
I'm actually very surprised because I feel like usually, even just on a regular weekend, you have a ton of plans.
Stuff.
Yeah.
We are going to go down to Mexico on Saturday.
Very patriotic of you.
But on Friday, we'll be here in America. And we go down to the Gulf of America and see what's going on down there. Several years in a row, we've thrown a big 4th of July bash, but we don't have plans for this time.
See, I love 4th of July.
I do too.
Every year I feel a little bit different about it. Like some years I'm very contemplative about our country. Other years I'm like, give me a hot dog and lemonade. This is the best ever. But I'm excited about this year. I'll be out there at the Freedom of Texas, and
that'd be fun.
It's going to be fun.
Have your kids gone out before?
No, this is our first time as a family. So usually
great.
We go down to South Padre Island and spend it with my parents, or I like to do beach stuff during 4th of July, but no, this year we'll be out there, Houston. And again, thanks for joining us today on Hello Houston. You can watch us on YouTube. You can call us.
Well, just remember, yes, you can. I was going to just remember, don't have a 5th on the 4th or you won't go forth on the 5th.
Yeah, you can give us a call at 713-440-8870. We have a lot coming up on Hello Houston. Cactus Music, the beloved independent record store, is celebrating its 50th anniversary in Houston, and we are going to talk to the owner of Cactus Music, Quinn Bishop. Also, Ernie Manous is out. He's been out on vacation, and then we'll be back July 7th, but you will not be back.
I'll be back on the 9th.
On the 9th. So if you've noticed here on Hello Houston, a couple of us are taking our vacay and taking a little time.
Summer, everyone has summer plans.
Everybody has summer plans.
I know one place I'm not going.
To Florida.
Not going to the Everglades.
That is right. President Trump is due in Florida today to visit what's been dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, a controversial migrant detention center in the Everglades that the state has stood up in a matter of days. Florida officials announced early last week that they'd gotten federal approval to build a detention facility at the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport, an isolated 39-square-mile airstrip located within the wetlands of the Big Cypress National Preserve, next to Everglades National Park. Its sole, roughly 11,000-foot runway has largely been used for training purposes, but officials say it will soon accommodate deportation flights. The site's nickname, coined by Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer, is a nod to the infamous island prison off the San Francisco coast and to its proximity to the predators of the marshy Everglades, from pythons to alligators to, yes, mosquitoes. Florida Republicans have embraced the project, and with the state GOP now selling Alligator Alcatraz branded T-shirts, trucker hats, and beer koozies on its website. The project is also opposed by Native American groups who consider the area their sacred ancestral homeland. What are your thoughts on Alligator Alcatraz? Now is the time to chime in. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Yeah, ecology groups are not happy with this move either because of the ecology down there. I mean, pythons eat alligators down there.
Yikes.
Yes. It's a very sort of scary, hey, we're going to land people here and we're going to detain them here and figure out where they're going to go from here. But they're not going to leave here because alligators and pythons are all around the place and would eat them if they tried to leave.
I mean
that's where we are with this whole immigration issue.
Well, I was just going to say, truly, politics aside, this just seems like a big no to me. It's just in general.
It's just kind of tacky.
It just does not feel
doesn't say
right.
America. It doesn't feel like America.
That does not sound. It sounds so outlandish that it almost doesn't sound real.
True.
Right? Like we're going to send people down.
It's like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Why don't we send them to Jurassic Park and tell them, you can try to leave, but you might be eaten by a velociraptor. You just never know.
That's right.
And you go, wait, really? This is America? And the president and his I guess his colleagues
the Florida
are so proud of this.
This is Florida officials. This is real. And they've even embraced the project, with the state GOP now selling Alligator Alcatraz branded T-shirts, trucker hats, and beer koozies. This sounds much more of an amusement park than it does an actual facility.
Well,
real.
The other part is we're not being transparent about this process at all. I don't know where the runways are in Texas. And the detention centers are in Texas or Southern California or anywhere.
Well, we have one here in Houston.
They're grabbing people off the streets. They're putting them in unmarked vans. The people that are doing the arrests are unmarked with masks on. They're taking these people somewhere, I don't know where, and then from there they're going off to an airfield, I don't know where, and put on a plane and going, I don't know where. And that's the America that's frightening to me, because we've always been a transparent country. This is how we do it. People sue each other, but they do so publicly in court. We have juries that make decisions. We have judges that make decisions. We have due process all the time. We don't just grab people like they did in Germany in 1939. And this is the whole feeling. And now to take them to a detention center that we just threw up, and the reason we just threw it up was so that it would be where it is, surrounded by pythons and alligators.
Again, 713-440-8870. We did get a text from Lisa.
We sure did, from Lisa.
That says, selling merch just proves that the cruelty is the point. It's shameful that people are reveling in ruining the lives of their fellow human beings.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa, for that text. Again, 713-440-8870. We do have a call from Nelson from Cyprus. Welcome to Hello Houston, Nelson. What is your comment or question?
My comment is that it's shameful what we're doing to these people. If by some chance we're able to get all of the so-called illegal immigrants out of the country, our economy will collapse overnight. And we depend on these people for all kinds of work, and we're treating them like, I'm not going to use the word. It's shameful what this administration is doing.
Thanks for not using the word, Nelson, but yes.
I agree with you. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for calling in.
If anybody has a comment, 713-440-8870. We'd love to hear from you.
That's
and
right.
we can certainly go back to this topic.
And we can definitely go back to this topic. Yes. What else is going on?
Well, this is more right at home. Yeah, and we had it on our website. I don't know if you saw the coin flip.
The coin flip, yes.
So Pasadena City Council Member Bianca Valerio wins the coin flip to retain her seat. She's the incumbent. She defeated challenger Bruce Lehman on Monday as a coin toss decided the race for position B on the city council. Each of them received 272 votes in a June 7th runoff election. So you had to decide how to do this one way or another, and it's legal in Texas under Texas election code to cast lots, quote unquote. I know. You could just probably play a little poker to figure out who was going to win. But the coin toss was apparently the easiest way to do it. They did it. Lehman, who lost, emphasized the importance of individual votes in local elections. And that is true. You may have a thought on that. Lana's on the line, by the way, from Galveston.
Yep.
Lana, what's your thought?
Well, I was thinking about the alligator Alcatraz.
Yes.
Yeah. And you made the comment that, at least it's not like 1939 Germany. And I love you guys, but I'm going to have to call you on that one. It is exactly like 1939 Germany.
No, I think you misheard me. I did say that.
I maybe have.
Yeah, no, I know. You're absolutely right. It is. People just grabbing other people off the street, and they have masks on. You don't know who they are. They don't identify themselves, and they just grab people and put them into vans and take them away. It is exactly like 1939. You're right.
The other day on Broadway at about 45th in Galveston, I saw a probably 10-year-old Honda Civic that was painted totally black. It had an ICE logo on the back window, heavily, blacked out windows, and a cover on the license plate so you couldn't read the license plate. And I'm thinking to myself, this is probably a bad guy that's just going to go grab some people to see what they can do with them, because when was the last time the federal government used 10-year-old Honda Civics?
Well, do you think that was a legitimate government-employed ICE car?
I don't know.
I know, that's the thing. That's what my point was. We're used to transparency where we know what's going on in the world, and we don't even know what's going on in our own neighborhood.
And all I could think of is this gentleman, you kind of see it was a male in the car, but there was only one person. How does anybody, in that point, kids were still in school, how does the average 15-year-old know that this is not ICE versus just a kidnapper?
Oh, I know. I mean, here's the crazy metaphor here that we're worried about a transgender person in a girl's bathroom, and we're not worried about masked, armed men coming out of cars with shaded windows and arresting people. We're letting that happen right in front of us. And
well, we need to be careful.
Our priorities are screwed up.
We need to be careful that we're not speculating that anything was actually illegal happening. We do understand that under this administration, what President Trump and our local leaders are doing is legal, and they also are saying that if they are taking people that are in violation of the law. And again, you can give us a call at 713-440-8870. We like to hear all perspectives.
But the thing is, we all want people that are in violation to be arrested. But we grew up with someone saying you have the right to remain silent, you have the right to an attorney, anything you say can and will be used in a court of law. That is our normal idea of what an arrest is, no matter who's being arrested. Our idea of someone being arrested is not at gunpoint, get in the van or get in the car with me. You're here illegally, get in the car right now. That's not our idea of being arrested. So it's disconcerting to, I think, everyone.
And we don't know if that actually is happening or not. But again, 713-440-8870. We do have another caller on the line. Is that right?
Yeah, Patrick from Cyprus.
Patrick from Cyprus. Layman from Clear Lake. Layman, are you on the line?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Thanks for having me. I have a comment, not a question. But I understand what's going on, right now in America, particularly with this event, this issue we're talking about, the alligator Alcatraz. But the bottom line is, guys, we tend to forget that this is what America voted for. I mean, President Trump became president, obviously, because he won the electoral vote, but he unprecedentedly won the popular vote as well. So, and then he won because he ran on a campaign that was very open and clear. So, and then America voted for him. The guy did not just drop from the sky, in my view.
That's true.
What we are claiming to be controversial is actually something that is being validated by Americans.
Well, Layman, I did not hear the speech from President Trump when he was running, where he said, here's how I'm going to solve the immigrant problem. I'm going to round up all the illegals at gunpoint with unmarked cars and masked men. I'm going to put them on a plane before they have a chance to go before a judge, and I'm going to ship them to a country that they're not even from. Do you remember that? Because I don't.
Well, so again, things are done based on president. So yes, he did not specifically say that, but he put people in chains during his first term, right?
And he separated families. That's true.
Which to me was a prelude of what was going to come next. And Americans knew that. Americans knew what President Trump was running for. And I mean, the guy won and won by a huge margin of popular votes. So to me, this is something that Americans validated and voted for and approved.
Well, I can't argue with you except to say I'm not sure that Americans who voted for Trump all knew this was going to happen. Some of my friends are diehard Trump fans, and not that I don't respect them, but now they're saying to me, this isn't exactly what I thought was going to happen. And I say to them, well, what did you expect was going to happen? And they don't have an answer for that. But they didn't think that this kind of immigration policy was going to be the immigration policy we have. They didn't think that so many people's livelihoods would be threatened by DOJ. It's coming in and just chainsawing these jobs away. And they certainly didn't think that this big, beautiful bill that is now passed was going to decimate our healthcare system for so many people. So while they voted for the idea of a better America and better immigration policy, I'm not sure that they voted for the way we're going about it.
That's right. We want to hear from you, 713-440-8870. Layman from Clear Lake, thank you so much for calling and joining the conversation. We also have a call from Chestnut from the Woodlands. Chestnut, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
I have a question. I think we agree that we don't like what's going on under the Trump administration, and also I'm not really happy with our governor either. I think that we have become a mean society under Trump and Abbott. What can we do? Voting doesn't seem to make a difference any longer.
Thank you, Chestnut, for that question.
Well, I mean, there are peaceful protests, and those can continue. And then vote as much as you can, even if it's at the very least level. In other words, at the local level, the municipal level, the county level, state boards,
your
right.
education, board.
Right. You have to make your voice heard everywhere.
That's right.
And the people that are in power now played the long game. and that's why they're in power.
713-440-8870. We did get a text from
several of them.
Jen from Clear Lake, if you want to read that one, Frank.
Yeah, I think Alligator Alcatraz is a PR stunt. It distracts from the even nastier things being done. However, it could also be the next movie in the Escape from New York series. But migrants coming here without ticking off all the right boxes does not really bother me. The way they are being treated does bother me. There was one also above that, with all the people posing as fake police officers rolling around. How's everyone, legal or illegal, going to know who's who? What if you resist thinking the person is a police poser?
That's right. And we also did get a text from Gail from Katie. It's shameful for someone to make T-shirts on the backs of these poor people. Again, Hello Houston is a place where we want to hear from you. 713-440-8870. We have heard lots of perspectives. We know you all have thoughts. Houston is one of the most diverse cities, but we also understand that people need to abide by the law.
Anthony J.D. on our YouTube channel says, watch the PBS documentary about Hannah Arendt, the author of The Origins of Totalitarianism. It's like she wrote it yesterday.
Wow. Again, 713-440-8870. There's a lot to talk about. And coming up on Hello Houston, Cactus Music, the beloved independent record store, is celebrating its 50th anniversary in Houston. And we'll talk with the owner of Cactus Music, Quinn Bishop. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Houston Matters wants to hear from you about story or guest ideas for future programs, or pet care or gardening questions you'd like us to tackle when those subjects come up each month on the show. Or maybe you have suggestions for how we can improve the program and provide a better public service. Reach out anytime at talk@houstonmatters.org. I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, we'll talk with former Attorney General Alberto Gonzales about the Trump administration's attacks on several big law firms.
The government shouldn't be in the business of telling us who we should or should not hire to represent us in court.
Plus, how Trump's aggressive deportation policy is playing out in Denver, Colorado. That's next time on The Middle.
It's coming up Thursday night at 8 p.m.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe. R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul. Music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider striving to build trust with businesses across the state through dedicated services. More at texasmutual.com/TexansDeliver. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Uptown Appliance, serving the Houston and Dallas areas with appliance services for multiple brands. Technicians provide long-term care and services. More at uptownappliance.com. Support comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, celebrating Independence Day with the Houston Symphony in a Star-Spangled Salute, featuring patriotic tunes and fireworks. Friday, July 4th. Open to the public. More at milleroutdoortheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to Hello Houston. From vinyl to streaming and everything in between, one Houston institution has weathered the changing tides of the music industry for half a century. This year, Cactus Music, the beloved independent record store nestled in the heart of Houston, is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Today, we're joined by Quinn Bishop, the owner of Cactus Music, to talk about the store's remarkable journey through 5 decades of musical evolution. what it takes to run a record store in this digital age, and which local artists are currently catching his ear. Quinn, welcome to Hello Houston, and congratulations on 50 years of Cactus music.
50 years.
That's tough. That is a tough for a business owner.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here.
How long have you been with Cactus?
Oh, since like 1987, which seems pretty crazy.
That's pretty nice, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, and that even was the day when vinyl was sort of clinging on.
Exactly.
When CDs were coming out. And tapes, I guess, had already been there, and they were coming out with all of the discs that could never, ever be broken. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or scratched, or, all this perfect. But we have talked to people who said that ultimately a record is the closest that you get to true sound.
Like a pure sound.
Do you believe that?
Here's what I think about it. Even if it's not about sound quality, I think that there are certain attributes that with the vinyl format that really put it above. I also think that there's a ritual associated with playing vinyl where, if you're you're listening to a download or maybe you're listening to a CD, that's kind of like popping a can of soda versus there's a ritual of listening to music on vinyl, which is like making tea. And I think people really like that.
That's very good because you have to think about what is it in my album collection do I want to hear? And you have to find it. A lot of times you flip it over.
Frank has a record player.
I do. I have a record player.
So that's why he knows so much about it.
Yeah, I am a record player. And so, and then you make that choice, and then you put it on your record, you get it going, you take the needle, you drop it, and then enjoy it. And it's different than just hitting a button.
Yeah. And you guys celebrated 50 years in your 50th anniversary of the store. You all had a surprise. Talk to us about that.
We had an amazing surprise. We have a very close association with that band, and we actually tried to do a pop-up with them during the pandemic, and it was we were going to do something on New Year's Eve day of 2021. And if we can go back and think about that, that's when we thought, we're going to put this whole pandemic thing behind us.
Right.
And so we had it locked in for a couple of months, and then it got about 10 days out, and we're like, we can't do this. And they were going on hiatus. We're like, we'll get back around to it. And I'm sure from y'all's experience, when people tell you things like that in the business, we'll see, right? Yeah. Well, they last October they reached out and said, hey, we're going to be in that. We haven't announced our Woodlands shows yet, but we're going to be there. What do you think about this date? And it was like right as we were planning to start celebrating our 50th on Record Store Day. So it was the day before Record Store Day, and we announced it and kind of broke the internet for a day in Houston. It was really something.
That is awesome. And so they're a local band. Are they a Texas band, or are they from Houston?
They are all from Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've obviously been guys who have been around for a long time. How have you seen the local Houston kind of landscape with artists change?
I think now you have, there used to be a prescribed order of how you did things as a recording artist. You would play a lot. You would release something that was physical goods, and then you would try to get a manager, an agent. You would go out there and try and play. Now you see things like Keshi, who was was an oncology nurse at one of the hospitals here, and he was just posting tracks online in his spare time, and he's Vietnamese American and was kind of getting some traction in that community. And then a couple of the huge K-pop acts started amplifying his work, and he just exploded. And now I think it's a different world in that regard, where you can literally, and we hear about it over and over and over. You can go from making tracks in your bedroom and putting them up online. And
Justin Bieber sort of started that.
Yeah.
A lot of artists now do that.
You can have 20 million followers in a week, and then when we really get to work with them, whenever they catapult themselves into the world of physical goods and records and CDs.
So I think I could guess the answer to my next question. Why Cactus?
I think because, so every great city in the country has a music store that's a conduit for all people that love music and work in music, whether they're just a music fan or a talent buyer or an agent, or they book music at the local venue, or they're a recording artist. And those stores have become the places for people that love music to congregate and find, because everything we do, even when we're listening to music, so many people, it's it's a very insular experience. So when you can go somewhere that's a destination and spend time with kindred spirits that love music, that's where it's at.
And the name Cactus, any idea?
I think they just went with the Southwestern theme. You know,
Really?
the original owners.
I was going for a needle thing.
It works.
Cactus has a lot of
Yeah,
needles, and
wait.
so do record players.
That's right. You're listening to Hello Houston. We're speaking with Quinn Bishop, the owner of Cactus Music. You can join the conversation and ask Quinn a question or maybe share your favorite memory from your experience at Cactus at 713-440-8870.
A lot of people have a lot of memories of Cactus.
Yeah, I actually, I didn't realize you guys had concerts, and my husband is much more of a indie music guy than I am, and he took us to a concert, and it was Churches.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal.
It was a big deal, and it was just a few of us, and I think they were like. This is when they were becoming huge. And so you really can't find a lot of places anymore where I feel like you can go and catch artists on their way up.
Well, and that's really what we do. And that's a touchstone going back to the original store that was started by Pappy Daly in the 40s. It was called the Record Ranch. It's now the C&D Hardware.
Oh, I love the Record Ranch.
Yeah. And they would host mostly country music performers that were going to be on the Louisiana Hayride to get people out to come to the show. So back in those days, they had regional favorites like Jerry Jericho, but Hank Williams Sr., people like that would perform in the store. And that is such a touchstone to what we do now. If you think over the years, like leading up to Khruangbin, there's been, the Police and the Ramones and Patti Smith and Charlie XCX and all these artists that have been in our store and met fans and had a great experience. And as much as we talk about big artists, I love it that you can come to the record store and see your favorite new artist in an intimate setting before their big show or before they break. I mean, it's a laundry list of artists like the Lumineers the week that record broke, they were performing in our store.
I'm sure that you've seen the Bob Dylan biopic.
I have.
Oh, yeah. With Timothy Chalamet. And so he is in the record store, and his record is just sitting there. And Joan Baez's record is flying out the door, What's your memory of the artist that really you couldn't keep the album in stock?
Oh, gosh. What's funny is, and there's been a lot of those cases, but I remember when Pearl Jam broke through. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Nirvana broke. That was probably the height of the CD business. And I can remember every time I had to walk past where the records or the CDs was like, somebody would have to go refill them. You just could not keep those titles in stock.
Anybody today?
The Lord record came out last week, and that has been a really monster hit. It's a return to form record from her after a somewhat self-indulgent record that missed a little bit, and fans are just over the moon about it. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about this. You said going to the record store, and that to me just seems like something so of the past. You don't hear, I'm going to go to the record store and hang out. Are younger kids interested or finding their way into record stores still?
Oh yeah, I think our core buyer is so there's people like me that are my age that have re-engaged with the format because it's a touchstone for them, but there's tons of just overwhelming majority of young people that are into vinyl and now actually, oddly enough, kind of into CDs, and they're embracing that format. They want to support the artist. They're back to like a bookshelf mentality where they've gone through all of the stuff that's out there and waded through all that to find the things that really resonate with them.
And again, you're listening to Hello Houston. We are talking to Quinn Bishop, the owner of Cactus Music. You can give us a call at 713-440-8870 to share a favorite memory or perhaps a question for Quinn. We did get a YouTube comment. The Truth says Cactus shows are the best one-of-a-kind experience. And Gary from Waller is on the line. Gary, what's your comment or question?
Hello. I have been familiar with Cactus Records for many years, and I have about 65 albums that I probably bought there.
Nice.
And I'm interested in selling them. I'm in my 70s. I've got, now here's a quick question. I've got the original Abbey Road that they redid because it had the sewer drain and the crosswalk, and I've got the Concert for I've had since I was a teenager. And I can't get into town, and I live in Waller, as I said, and my question is, do you guys make house calls?
We do make house calls. Maybe when we're off the air, we'll get your info, and I'll follow up with you this afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. One of our producers will grab your info. Thanks for calling, Gary.
So is that a common request, a house call?
It's remarkably common, yeah. In fact, I'm leaving here and going straight to one.
Are you really? And it's people like this gentleman, like Gary, that just have a bunch of albums and they don't want to see them just thrown away.
Well, I think that it's much like people that collect books or other things. They want to see them find a purposeful future with people that appreciate the art. And we really help them do that. I mean, I think in some ways it's kind of like throwing seeds over your shoulder. If you have a large collection, then you kind of see where they go and know that they'll be enjoyed.
We have another call from the Heights. Barry is on the line. Hi, Barry.
Hey, Quinn. This is an old friend, Barry Stiles, and I just wanted to compliment you on the job you've done with creating a brand and a community with Cactus. And I first had my first experience in Cactus was back in the old location. I heard Funkadelic coming from the ceiling, and I was just overwhelmed by the guitars, and then my 19-year-old son spends most of his life savings in your store and just loves it in the vinyl experience. And so what you do is great. I've got my first new debut album coming out here soon, so I'll be talking to you soon. Became a musician later in life, and but kudos to what you've done and what you created.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And yeah, come by and see me. We'll talk about your record.
Thanks for calling, Barry. Again, 713-440-8870. Maybe your favorite experience or memory or a question or comment for Barry.
Well, Alex Garza, one of our big YouTube fans. I think Alex watches us on YouTube every day. He says, growing up during my time in high school, my friends and I would hang out at Cactus. It was one of our third places for us. Whatever third means.
Oh, what that means is if you were not at work and you were not
at school.
Is that what that means?
That is where you want to be. It's where, if you have an hour to kill, where do you want to be?
That's your third place.
See yourself? That's your
Oh, that's
love it.
cool. I love that we learned something from our regulars. Yes. So, Quinn, what do you think is something that Houstonians don't realize about Cactus? Maybe that little tidbit that maybe we don't know. I mean, it's been around for a long time. Clearly, a lot of people have their own experiences and stuff. But something you would want people to know.
I think that what I would want people to know is how many remarkable, wonderful people that are passionate about music that have worked at the store over the years. Mm-hmm. And I still run into them. I'll still, get a text message or a call. And especially our former, one of our former employees that I'm super close with, he just got the job. He's the talent buyer for the Chicago Theater in Chicago.
Oh,
so
wow.
and we've seen all of so many of our employees go on to great things in the arts or not in the arts, but the time spent at our store, they contributed, and we greatly value it.
So what's the secret sauce? I mean, you've obviously survived the genres that have come and go, got through COVID, which, we all somehow or another did, and generational music.
Yeah.
So how do you do it?
Community. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to realizing that that you are supported by the people that are not just in your neighborhood, not just in your city, but that are propping up your store and seeking you out. Almost 10% of our customers come from 100 miles away, which is fantastic. I mean, that's a lot of shopping.
Yeah.
But, talking with the gentleman who's, I've got a record coming out. I was like, yeah, come talk to me. We really try to elevate people that are making a commitment to their art locally and have aspirations for taking it somewhere else and growing it. We're in your corner.
And we have a call, Quinn, for you from DeWita. DeWita from Conrail. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Hello, and thank you so much. I'm so grateful to hear your message. I'm almost overwhelmed. I'm from Detroit originally, so all kinds of music, all genres. I love it all. And I'm always telling my husband, who is a native Houstonian, where's the record stores? Where can we plug in to the music? We have a 22-year-old music artist, and he's just struggling to be heard. When he was in high school, he had lots of opportunities throughout the Conroe School District, and he would perform or whatever. But now that he's graduated, there's like no opportunities. Mm-hmm. And in Detroit, there's so many venues and opportunities for young artists to grab onto the coattails of up-and-coming artists that have made a plateau a little higher than theirs, or even those that have made it on the Grammy scene. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so excited to know. So my question is, can a rap artist, a rock artist, because he does rock and rap, can they perform in your store?
Often they can. We showcase artists after they have created a physical product, a CD. In a lot of cases, with hip hop and rap, a cassette tape, believe it or not, is very big.
Cassettes.
Yeah. So once they cross that benchmark of doing a physical good item, again, a CD, cassette, or vinyl record, then we bring them in to perform at the store. Now, leading up to that, we're, always happy to talk, encourage, and offer advice, and maybe just steer people in the direction so that they can reach that benchmark. And because it's hard in Houston, I feel like the music scene is so well-rounded and so diverse that oftentimes there's not a sense of a groove or a path to follow. Mm-hmm. And we will, even if we can't host you for an in-store because you haven't committed your work to physical goods, we're there to talk to you. And
so, Dewita, we'll be sure to get your information as well for Quinn. We did get a text that says, my son is down from Canada. Cactus is on our visit list. See you soon. And that was from Richard. And again, you can join the conversation, 713-440-8870.
Yeah, Ann's on the line from West University. Hi, Ann.
Hi. I just wanted to say that I knew Bud and Don Daly. They were clients of mine, and they were, I think, the people that opened up Cactus Records way back when. Their father had been a record producer.
Nice.
That is
little
absolutely
trip down
right.
memory lane right there.
Fun.
Bud and Don were wonderful, gracious people, and when they were facing end-of-life issues, they allowed myself and our staff to very graciously allowed us to continue the brand so that Houston could continue to enjoy Cactus music, because really family businesses, that's how stuff goes away. But they were just wonderful, wonderful people.
Nice.
Quinn Bishop is the owner of Cactus Music. Quinn, thanks for being on Hello Houston, and congrats on 50 years.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a real treat to be here.
Coming up, we'll talk about Rice University's Archive of the Impossible. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues. It's going to get creepy.
I'm Josh Adams, the new general manager of Houston Public Media, and we are here for one reason: you. I'm thrilled to lead this remarkable team dedicated to our mission of informing, educating, and inspiring everyone in the greater Houston area. And yes, these are challenging times, but together we'll meet them head on with bold ideas, honest reporting, and stories that matter. Houston Public Media is your public media. Together, let's make it incredible.
Hi, this is Matt Harrop. There's been a lot of news to cover in Houston over the last few months. Keep listening to Houston Public Media for the latest, and if you've got a car, truck, boat, or RV you don't need anymore, donate it to the station. It could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. The donation process is easy for you, and we'll pick up your vehicle in any condition. Here's how to get started. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. Thank you.
This week on This American Life.
I'm dead serious. I spent hours compiling a list of a couple things that make us cry. So we're going to start with sort of our first one.
We're doing this now?
Oh, yeah, we're doing this now.
Oh, wow. Seth doesn't cry, but he wants to. So we set up a little experiment. That's this week.
This American Life is on tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
Support comes from GiveMeTheVIN.com. Purchasing vehicles in minutes with the VIN or license plate, or by bringing the vehicle to Houston area offices. Details at GiveMeTheVIN.com. Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To get your comment in on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Celeste Diaz-Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
All right, tomorrow, July 2nd, is World UFO Day, a day that people gather to watch the skies in search of UFOs. For those interested in UFOs and extraterrestrial life and are looking to find more materials on the subject, Rice University's Archives of the Impossible has for more than a decade amassed over 1 million documents, recordings, files, all related to unexplained phenomena, consisting of abduction accounts, letters from experiencers, and more. The archives have become one of the most significant collections on the subject in the world. Joining us now to tell us more is Jeff Kripal, the J. Newton Razor Chair in Philosophy and Religious Thought at Rice University, and Karin Austin, the project manager of the Archives of the Impossible. Jeff, Karin, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
How did you get here? Did you fly? You didn't fly something here, did you?
No, we drove.
Oh, you drove. Okay. So tell us about the Archives of the Impossible. What exactly is it? How did it start?
It's been going since 2014. I had a conversation with a man named Jacques Vallée in Berkeley, California, who asked for help placing his archives. Jacques is probably the world's leading writer and expert on the topic. Steven Spielberg used him to make Close Encounters. So I came back to Rice and I thought to myself, why can't we do this? The university has a long connection to NASA, as you probably know. And so I approached our archive, our Woodson Research Center, and the rest really is history. We have about 18 collections now that people just keep approaching us wanting to donate.
Photos? You have a lot of photos?
Yeah, we have photos, we have video, audio, we have the letters, we have the whole thing.
Now, Karin, when we're looking at UFOs and extraterrestrial life, a lot of people, there are some people that are like, is this real?
Mm-hmm.
So is it? Is it real?
So I'm like, you all are sifting through archives, thousands of photos, taking personal accounts. Is it real?
The short answer is yes, but it is very much real. But the way in which it's real challenges our understanding of what is reality.
Right, like the Hollywood version of UFOs and extraterrestrial life, does that match up with the real Rice University? We are scientists, we are researchers, and we're looking at this.
I think you should answer that.
No.
Like the X-Files,
no,
right?
Well, the X-Files is closer. I mean, we call it the nuts and bolts or the fear narrative. It's really a Cold War invasion narrative where the alien is coming from outside and the job is to fight it off or to blow up something or other. If you actually listen and sit down with experiencers, that's not generally what they're talking about. They're talking about something much more direct and experiential and negative, but also very positive. So it's an ecstatic experience as well as an initially negative or fearful one.
Okay, so I want to be clear. The UFOs that we're talking about, are they UFOs that come from somewhere other than the Earth's atmosphere, or they're coming from somewhere in Earth and they're just an unidentified flying object?
So this is the archives themselves span a spectrum of anomalous phenomena. So one of the things that you're zeroing in here for World UFO Day certainly is about UFO. And they're now called UAP, which stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, meaning that there are many things in the sky which we don't understand. They show up in sometimes plasma-like ways, or sometimes that can only be seen on radar or sensors. So there are qualities to UAP that have a physicalness to them, but They also operate in ways that defy our current understanding of physics, meaning they can apparently move through water without showing any resistance that we would normally expect. And they move through air in similar ways that defy our understanding of physics. So in that sense, there's a question about what kind of phenomena, what kind of physical object or non-physical object are we actually looking at. But more importantly, there's a question, a very serious question that's constantly in the cultural conversation about these phenomena that have to do with where these things might be coming from. So is it actually extraterrestrial? Is it intradimensional? Might they be ultra-terrestrial or ultra-tempestrial, meaning could they be our future descendants coming back to see us and kind of acting as anthropologists right now? The short answer is you can't land, no pun intended, anywhere.
But you're not ruling it out.
As someone who's personally had these encounters, direct contact experiences, I know for a fact that something real is occurring.
Have you been abducted?
I have.
How was it?
Really? Excellent. No, it was just what he said. It's very traumatic in the beginning. It's everything inside of our brain, our Western mindset says this isn't possible. It's not supposed to be happening. And when confronted with phenomena and non-human intelligence that are clearly more advanced, more intelligent than us, using tech that looks like magic, defying physics in a way that our brain is not wired to, comprehend, it's very traumatic in the moment. There's an onslaught of new information that's happening in the moment that can't be digested fast enough. So there's this kind of psyche tension that occurs with that. And getting through, various kinds of psi phenomena that come, kind of part and parcel with those encounters takes time. I don't know that anyone ever particularly gets settled, having gone through it. There's always a kind of a sense of dis-ease with it, but it's also, as Jeff talked about, profound, and it's life-changing, and very often, most often for people, even if we're not completely settled with what these encounters were, our lives are transformed in a way that's just fundamentally positive.
And we are speaking with Rice University about Rice University's Archives of the Impossible. You can join the conversation at 713-440-8870. We did have an online comment that says, is all of your information available to the public, and is this online?
So, go ahead.
It's not online. A lot of it's available to the public. Some of it's put on moratorium by the donors themselves. But you need to come to the archives, to Woodson Research Center, to look at the actual archives or the actual documents and set up an appointment.
So that sounds like I took a video of extraterrestrial people, and I don't want anybody to see it until I die.
It's different. It's different than that, if I can jump in. So it's different per collection. There are different potential risks that are involved, like the risks that Jacques Vallée has to be mindful of while he's still alive are different than the risk, for instance, with the John E. Mack collection. So Dr. Mack, you may or may not have heard, was a Harvard psychiatrist in the 90s who was one of the first researchers and academics to verify that what abductees like myself were going through, in the sense that it was showing up like real experience and not like psychopathology. So we have John Mack's files as archives. He died tragically in 2004 in a pedestrian car accident in London. It was heartbreaking. He was a close friend. And
have you put your experience on paper or on video?
John has did research with approximately 300 different experiencers, abductees, and my file is one of the files in there. It's pretty expansive. I've been interviewed a few times on it, but my point that I wanted to get to on it is that there are certain files that we have to handle in compliance with HIPAA standards. So we want to protect the individuals in those situations who never expected their files to be public. So I'm fierce about protecting their right to privacy, as is archives in general, and we do that in collaboration with the Internal Review Board at Rice University.
As you're going through this work, do you find that as people share their own story, that more people feel comfortable coming out and saying, actually, I wasn't sure if people would believe me, and this happened to me? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, so what we've found is the more you talk about it and the more public you make it, the social censor essentially comes down. we think these experiences are anomalous or rare because of the social censor.
Yeah.
And when you remove that, what you discover is that they're actually quite common, and that, probably millions of people have had these, but just don't talk about them. And the constant references that are dismissive or regard, little green guys or tinfoil hats are part of the campaign to dismiss these things. And this is what we're trying to work against, is trying to get a much more serious and much more compassionate view of things.
Okay, so we got to go in a minute, but to be clear, you believe there are UFOs?
We believe there is an unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing. Jeff Kripal is the J. Newton Razor Chair in Philosophy and Religious Thought at Rice University. Karin Austin is the project manager of the Archives of the Impossible. Thank you both for joining us today on Hello Houston. That was extremely interesting. Thanks. And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for listening, commenting, calling, texting, emailing, and just joining us on Hello Houston. You all make this show Hello Houston. We'll be back tomorrow with more conversations. This is News 88.7.
Happy UFO Day.
Happy 4th of July.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from St. Arnold Brewing Company, a place for corporate events on tap, meeting rooms, AV equipment, and full catering available. More at StArnold.com.
Looks like a chance